Welcome to All Things Financial with Jack Driscoll. Each week, Jack takes on all things you thought were hard to understand about your finances and makes it fun, easy, but most of all interesting. From insurance to the best way to save your money and squeeze the most out of the dollars you put aside for your rainy day. And now, you have a friend in the money business. Here's your host, Jack Driscoll.
Welcome back again, everyone, to another segment of All Things Financial. I do this show as a service to the community and try to answer on the show any questions or deal with any issues that I see clients of mine coming across or struggling with, or that I come across in the news and think I might want to get some information out to the public to help the rest of you. So this week, we're still seeing market turmoil. I, again, am a financial planner, so I deal with the industry of stocks, bonds, mutual funds through my brokerage affiliation with SagePoint. But I also deal with asset protection issues and retirement issues through the insurance practice, which is Driscoll Insurance. So when we consolidate and look at a person's finances, we're looking toward the future. And we're looking to try to predict the future. And we realize very quickly we cannot predict the future. So what we run into is trying to look at past experiences and look at current events and try to project on an individual basis what a person's going to need for the rest of their life. And when that income check payout is cut off, when you quit work, then do you have enough money to last you the rest of your life? And we sometimes call that retirement planning. Well, today in market turmoil that we have, I'm getting a lot of phone calls on, hey, should I just cash out and retire now? Maybe we should retire early. Maybe we should take Social Security early. Wait a minute, I heard we should take Social Security later. Wait until normal retirement age is now 67, no longer 65. But somebody comes to me on the very next phone call and says, I heard or read an article I should take Social Security as early as possible at age 62. And I get into questions with them over the phone, and I want to share with you. Has anyone talked to you about that you'll owe for your health insurance? Prior to age 65, you're not eligible for Medicare. Have they factored that into the decision? So we run into, oh no, wait a minute, nobody thought about that. So I want to share some of these things and go over them with you today. Just some of the concerns on the market turbulence and how that affects retirement decisions. So I wanted to start with this, do we retire early scenario. We have different situations that many of you face, but all of them are really revolve around a date or an age. Should I retire at age 58 early, 60, 62, which is early, the first time we could take from Social Security? A reduced benefit is at age 62. Should I wait till at least we're 65, because then we're eligible for Medicare, which helps soften the expenses for our hospitalization insurance, and I'll get into that in a minute. Or should we wait until our normal, what is quoted as normal retirement age for Social Security? And that's based on your birth date. It ranges for, if you're age 60 right now, if you were born in around 1955, your normal retirement age is 66.2 months, 66 years and 2 months. And it goes up incrementally monthly. So many clients that are listening to me talk in my appointments, or many of you listening on the TV show here, will be at 67. So what we're looking at are various ages when you can retire. And the question normally is, when's best for a person to retire? So I'll go through some scenarios. For you considering early retirement, you have 25 or 30 years in with your company, you're eligible to retire with full pension, let's say, or full benefits at age 58 or 60. Then we're faced with a situation in many cases, you're offered by your company either fixed income, monthly income, pension income, or a lump sum rollover. So there are two schools of thought for that. If you take the fixed income, some people will take that because they are very comfortable with that's a monthly income you can't outlive. It'll last as long as you live. And with a pension option, many times they give a survivor option. So you get to fill out a form saying, I would like this for not only my life, but also my spouse's life. And what you run into are survivor options where either 100% of the benefit could last for life for you and your spouse, or 50% or 70%, something like that. You'll take a reduced benefit now, in most cases, if you choose a survivor benefit protection. But it's sometimes, in fact, many times, wise to choose a survivor pension benefit, because what if you go on pension, you're on a monthly fixed income, and you die in 2 months? Well, the company keeps all the rest of that money if you did not choose a survivor option. So that's step number one. We have a fixed income decision to make. One of the biggest risks with taking a fixed income option was proven out in the 70s. In the 70s, many people were on pension and Social Security, and that's all. And what we had in the city of Pittsburgh was we had then all the mills closing and a lot of recession in Pittsburgh back in the 70s. But that led to very, very high inflation. We had inflation of 13 and 14%. That means I had people back then, because I was in business since 1976 myself, I had people back then on fixed income of maybe $500 or $1,000 a month pension and $500 or $1,000 a month Social Security, and that's it. So when costs kept going up and going up, school, property taxes, I kept getting complaints from homeowners saying, why should I have to pay property taxes? I don't have any, or school taxes. I don't have any kids in school anymore. Complaints because things kept going up, rampantly going up, and they couldn't afford to stay in their home because they were on fixed income. So the one lesson we learned as a risk of fixed income, which seems so secure because it's an income that will last you forever, that you can never outlive. But anytime you fix yourself on a fixed income that also can never go up, especially in a low inflationary world like we have today, we have to anticipate the possibility of higher inflation in the future and our income not responding. So that's one of the risks we have to figure. When a person retires early, especially 58 or 60, a life expectancy might be to age 85, let's say. And we have a lot of people living into their 90s today, a lot more than we had back in the 70s. And what we're running into is we're trying to plan for retirement now, make decisions now for a 60-year-old on what's best for them over the next 30 years. Folks, that's impossible. It's not almost impossible. It is impossible. And then when we do that with fixed income and we further fix the options that person has, then we're now trapping ourselves into hoping we've made the best decision at one point in time to last them for the rest of their life. And usually that won't work out as well as we hope. So that's when you start seeing people run into options from their employers instead of or in lieu of a fixed income. They have a choice to take a lump sum and then invest it on their own. Well, now we have a risk on the do-it-yourself plan. Even dealing with professionals to help administer that money and structure a portfolio, we have a very real risk there, because any of us who pretend we can, let's say, foresee the future, predict what's going to happen, predict what's going to happen in the markets, we're only fooling ourselves. We can't. We have no idea what's going to happen in the markets today by the end of the day, let alone 10 years from now or 5 years from now. Or we don't know what's going to happen with your own health or your own situation that could impact the decisions we made now. So what we like to do is try to build plans that have lots of availability to continue to make choices and alterations and changes along the way to adapt to changing circumstances, both external circumstances that you can't control, like higher taxes, higher inflation, and circumstances that deal only with your family situation, like maybe health problems, or if you ever have to go into a nursing home, and that causes an upheaval of your finances that we might have to address in the future. So we like to build in flexibility if possible. The problem with that is sometimes we're dealing with this lump sum rollover then that incurs its own risks. It involves its own risks because now, do we put that money somewhere and it's kept safe? Can't be reduced in value? Because if so, many times we can earn very little or nothing on that money. And then if someone goes out and says, well, I want to try to earn a reasonable market rate of return, they say, which again, I'll tell you, there is no animal. But if they do say that, they might be striving to earn higher potential rates of return, which might involve or expose an element of risk of loss of some or all of that portfolio to market risk, which might be a greater risk than just having taken the fixed income option to begin with. So that's one of the dilemmas. When we consider early retirement, the dilemma even gets harder. So now I want to get into, okay, let's say you're working with a certified financial planner, trying to work through these different scenarios, and you're kind of evaluating, do we go early on Social Security? We read many articles. Some say always take early. I read an article this week that said always take early. And I see some that say always take normal retirement. So I'll share with you some of the considerations that we really evaluate, and maybe you'd want to think about or talk to your spouse about too. Number one, if you have normal retirement at age 67, let's say for this example, and early retirement for Social Security at age 62, for hypothetical evaluation, let's say if you wait till 67, and age of you probably get an annual statement from Social Security. So pay attention to next year's annual statement. It will show you on there what your expected or anticipated monthly income will be at your normal retirement age. If you flip to the back of page 1, it'll tell you what that normal retirement age is for you. So it'll say 66.7 years, or it'll say 67.1 month, whatever it is. And you'll look and you'll see a number on there. And let's pretend it's $1,500 a month just for this example. If you take early Social Security at age 62, it is likely the check will be reduced by approximately 25%, let's say, or maybe even 30%. Let's say it's only $1,000 a month if you take it 62, but if you wait until you're 67, let's say it's $1,500 a month. So we're off by $500 a month. You are sacrificing to get checks from Social Security, albeit reduced, 5 years earlier. Now let's look at this. Let's take first the person who truly retires early. They're taking a lower payment if they take Social Security early. And it does not retract back to the full payout at 67. So if you take reduced Social Security, it's reduced forever. The only factor in that is it is increased by whatever your starting point, let's say $1,000 a month. Every year, Social Security Administration uses an increase factor for inflation, which is the CPI, a version of the CPI for Social Security, which has approximated 1% to 2%, maybe 2.5% in some years. So if we look and we say at age 62, 63, 64, 65 probably will not still be $1,000 a month. It will probably go up slightly if the CPI index warrants it. I did a calculation before I came on the show just to see what does a 2% mean on $1,000 by the time you're 67. And what I found was $1,000 grows to about $1,100 a month you might be receiving at age 67 if the CPI increase is averaged for all 5 of those years about 2%. So if we waited until we were 67, we'd get $1,500 a month beginning at age 67, but nothing prior to that. If we take it at age 62, we get $1,000 a month in this example, but by 67, it might already be $1,100 a month. Okay, now let's keep those numbers in mind. Remember, we received 5 years worth of $1,000 a month early. So we have $12,000 out of Social Security bank that if we don't take at 62, we just don't get. So if we wait 5 years and start at 67 and then die at 68, we only get 1 year out of them. Yes, it's $1,500 a month times 12, but we only got $18,000 total if we died after the first year. If we take it 62, by the time we're 67, we've actually received $12,000 times 5 years. We have $60,000 out of Social Security, plus those increases for the CPI. So we probably have already received $65,000. And then in the year of 67, again, we die 1 year after that, we receive another, let's say $12,000 or $13,000. So we have about $72,000 to $75,000 we collected where the person who waited only receives 1 year's benefit. Now we get to a survivor benefit. There is, if you have a spouse, an option for a survivor to receive, or spouse rather, to receive benefits by the time they're 62 or 65 also. I won't get into huge details on the show, but I will share this with you. Even if your spouse never worked, when you start taking Social Security, once your spouse is age eligible for Social Security, which means 62 or 66, depending on how it works on them, they're entitled to at least half of whatever your Social Security is, but then factored by the reduced age, in addition to your Social Security. So you have 2 checks coming into the household. If your spouse worked and their income warrants a Social Security check higher than half of your benefit, then they're entitled, obviously, to their full Social Security benefit also. Now, after a person passes away, let's say my example, pass away after 1 year after age 67. So at age 68, one person passes away. The spouse of the deceased person is entitled to the larger of the 2. So if the spouse, the surviving spouse, never worked and they were only receiving half of the Social Security of the deceased spouse, the surviving spouse will now inherit or take over the full larger check that the deceased spouse was receiving, and the surviving spouse's benefit will be forfeited. So the surviving spouse will receive the larger of the 2. If the surviving spouse was had employment all those years and had their own Social Security benefit calculated, if their benefit was larger than the deceased spouse, they'll just keep that. If the deceased spouse's check was larger, even though the surviving spouse's benefit was based on their earnings, the surviving spouse gets to keep the larger of the 2. So that's how Social Security works in a nutshell. I run into this situation. Let's say we have someone who says, I don't need Social Security income. I have enough out of my 401k and pensions. I'm going to retire at 62 or even 60. But should I wait, even though I'm retired, to take Social Security until I'm 67 anyway? So they're saying we don't need the money. We have enough on pension and their 401k. So they were going to consider leaving Social Security to not take a reduced benefit at 62 because they don't need it, but rather wait until 67 when it's larger for both them and their spouse. So I'll propose to them the pros and cons of both options there. And there are many, but one of them is, what if you took the early Social Security and banked it and earned maybe in interest rate on that money. So you're collecting 5 years in advance, although it's a reduced benefit, you're putting it in the bank. Now in this same example, you've received approximately $60,000 early from Social Security, but you didn't need it. So it's sitting in the bank still for you. The problem with that is you're now still subject at age 67 to that reduced benefit. But the advantage of it is, let's say it's earning 3% interest. Well, $60,000 at 3% interest is $1,800 a year interest, which is $150 a month. So in addition to the $1,100, because CPI grew that check to $1,100 at 67, you also have interest of $150 now. So you, in essence, are not that far off from that full Social Security check in some cases, because in this case you have $60,000 extra in the bank that if you die, your spouse gets to keep, obviously. But you also, if nothing happens, you have $60,000 in the bank. It's earning, let's say, 3% interest, for example. That's paying you $150 interest income a month on top of your reduced Social Security check. And you already have the $1,100. So you're actually up to $1,250 instead of $1,500, which you would have waited for. We're getting darn close, folks. So there are some calculations that I wanted to share with you on the show. I hear all kinds of questions about Social Security. I will share this with you. Any of you who are considering early retirement, I'll get back to this Medicare trigger point. If you retire prior to age 65 and your employer does not help contribute for your health care costs, then watch out, because health care insurance per person under age 65 could be anywhere from $800 to $1,200 a month per person. That'll kill our retirement decisions we're trying to make so prudently here, because now we need an extra $1,000 a month roughly coming in just to pay for the health insurance while you're still working, and postponing retirement until 65 or 66. It may be provided by your employer, or contributory, you may only have to pay $100 or $200 a month toward it. That is a huge decision that's often overlooked when people are considering early retirement. And most people that are focusing on this Social Security issue might not be focusing also on the health insurance issue. And that's not only for you, but for your spouse. And watch out, because when you're buying individual health insurance, that's underwritten. So if you develop a health condition, you might turn into being uninsurable. So we might factor you at age 62 or 60. Oh, here's your insurance. It's $800 a month. You'll be okay until you're 65. And then all of a sudden, you develop a health condition, and we have trouble renewing your plan because the rates went up so much, not due to a claim, but they just went up, and we can't shop and move the coverage somewhere else. So this is a very sophisticated area. All right, we're out of time for today. I just wanted to share areas on this show that I run into in my practice, just to share with more of you. Any of you who want me to discuss topics, please email our office. Let us know what type topics you'd like me to bring out on the show that you have interest in, and I'll be glad to cover them. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll be back again next week.
You've been listening to All Things Financial with your friend with the answers to all financial matters, Jack Driscoll of Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Sage Point Financial Incorporated, a registered broker-dealer and registered investment advisor and member FINRA and SIPC. Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services is not affiliated with Sage Point Financial, Inc. or registered as a broker, dealer, or investment advisor. You can reach Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services Incorporated at 412-833-1500, and they are located at 2738 South Park Road, Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, 15102.